Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Pappy's Garage. Just got back from the east where I got to visit with an old friend of mine, John I haven't seen in 30 years. And it's kind of interesting to meet up with someone you haven't seen in so long and see how they've changed and to catch up like it was yesterday. It was a fun time. He turns out to be a bit of a car guy too. He's got I think it was a 1970 AMX, and just saw pictures of it, but pretty car. It's fun to go somewhere and find out he's a car guy too, you know. But one thing that was funny that he told me was that he met a guy from San Diego, California one time, and the guy had told him if he ever came out to look him up and they'd do some traveling around the state and he'd show him a good time. And so he decided to return the favor and tell the old fellow that if he ever came out to Pennsylvania to look him up and that he's got a place and all that kind of stuff. And the old fellow looks at him and says, "Young man, I learned a long time ago there's not a good reason for a man to go east of the Mississippi." And we laughed. That was funny because you know, I've been gone from the east now for 30 years, long time, and it's good to visit with old friends and have old friends and know they're around. But to all you people out there that are again, the downtrodden, depressed, the wayward, just not understanding. The reason that I'm doing all of this is to get involved and do something. The way I see this country going and the things that are happening, I just can't sit by and be idle and watch it all go the way that it is. But you know, connecting with old friends reminded me of a few things that sometimes it's our friends that are the problem, and we need to ditch those friends. We need to find new friends, friends that will encourage us, friends that will be there for us, friends that will be, you know, the kind of people that make us better people, that help us get along, that really empower us to be the people that God intended us to be. And if you're out there now and you don't have those friends, you know, one thing I'm finding in all of these social platforms that there's a lot of people out there who, like myself, want to encourage you, want to be part of your life and share with you all of my experience and time and contribute to you overcoming your situation and getting yourself into a better place, meeting people like us in different places where we go. You know, I went back there and met with them, but you know, every Saturday morning I go to this car meetup with a bunch of guys, and yeah, some good guys, some other guys, whatever. The point is, I wanted to meet some people that are interested in what I'm doing. And you know, I meet all sorts of people doing that stuff. And some are encouraging, some are more interesting, some want to be involved in, you know, my life and what I'm doing, and I try to reciprocate. And I encourage you to do the same thing. Find something you're interested or that interests you anyhow, and go and be a part of that group. Meet some of those people and be positive, encouraging, and you'll find those people as well. But today, here we are back in the shop. The stroker's right there where I left it, and we're going to get some things done to it today. I think the first thing we're going to do is throw that hot cam we got in there, and can revert back to the previous videos. You want to see our build specs and whatnot, but I think that's the first thing we're going to do is throw the cam in here. And I was looking at it before I got on camera here, and I noticed that I didn't put the plugs in the back of the block. So I think what we're going to do is get this wooden chair here, pull this off the stand, tip it up, get our stand mount out of the way, put those cups in it before we get to that cam. But basically that's the first thing we want to do today. So let me get the camera set up and get things going and get off and running here. All right, well, I got this up on the chair now. I'm going to put it on speed film or so. I don't know what you call it, but anyhow, I'm going to take this bracket off, get these cups in here, put the bracket back on, put it back in the stand, and you'll see all of that in double speed, high speed. I don't know what you call it. But anyhow, uh, I'll get that done, and then we'll get back to installing that cam. Okay, so here we are with the cam install. This is a competition cam uh, product, and it's a special grind by Russ Pottinger. It's not really anything spectacular, but it's a little bit of a performance cam, a little more duration, a little more lift based on the build we're doing. I went with this one in particular because it matches the head that I got done from him, and I know that those two would be adequately matched. Went through the documents here, read them all. These are pretty good installation instructions. MSDS, yeah. We know the state of California causes cancer. That's a given. Anyhow, instruction manual is pretty informative and whatnot. It's pretty good. One thing that the instruction manual does reinforce is the break-in lube, that you make sure you coat all the lobes here and the distributor gear and the fuel pump gear. So in this case, we've got fuel injection. We don't have a lobe for our fuel pump, but it did come with this really interesting coating on the lobes that I think is probably something for the break-in period. But anyhow, yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll use your standard Pennsylvania crude on the all the bearings and the bearing surfaces on the cam. So let's get this block flipped over, get it cleaned up, lubed up, and put in. All right, there it is. We've got the time and chain set up, installed after our cam. Set on a time lapse. These are our timing marks, top dead center. All looks good there. Ran that down with the small impact gun. We'll get that torqued later. It's only 20 foot-pounds. I'll probably have to break that loose. But here's what our cam looks like down inside there. Let me get a little bit more lube on that as before we get too far along here. It looks like I missed a few spots and want to make sure we get that lubed up. But you know, this straight 6 cam is quite long and cumbersome, but I got lube left back in there, and we'll get that lubed up a little bit more as we go. You know, whipping this camera around here make everybody seasick. But back to the timing and whatnot. The you know, if we were really making this tight and you know, really performance high level engine, we'd degree this thing, but we're really not looking to do that. We're just trying to soup up the performance enough to give it some more street ability. We're not going to be racing it at 5 and 6 grand. Maybe occasionally we'll get to that, but you know, as a general rule, we're not going to flog this thing. So it should do fine just with the timing marks and setting our distributor as we need it. So anyhow, that's a cam installation. On to the next thing. All right, here we are with our Race Tech pistons, our scat rods, and these are supposed to measure in at 446. They're coming in at 447, which could be my scale. That was pretty good, but see, they're all the same, which is ideal for reciprocating mass, right? So I was really pleased with how well those work out. 447 is The rods are the same, right? 689. 689. So 689. Pretty awesome. So nothing has to be done with those. We can just assemble them. But I thought I would show you how, you know, spending the money on you know, this nice stuff makes it really nice. Less work and perfection out of the box. So our mission here is to put these rods on these pistons, and that's what we're going to do with these. That's going to take me a little while, so I'm not going to bore you with 40 minutes of this footage, but I'll do a time lapse and I'll show you when we're done. So I'm not sure where it is I left off in the video. I guess I'll see when I get it all on the computer and start looking at it. But anyhow, back to our stroker project. It's been quite a while since I've had some time to work on it, mostly because life gets in the way, other things are going on, and you know, you do what you can when you can, and just keep going and make it work out. So we're back at it. Done with a few of the other things. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this finished off today, but next up is rings. So we've got some Hastings rings and our pistons. So what we're going to do is drop our rings in the bore here, set them in place with a piston, do some end gap measuring, make sure we've got the good spec there, and then ring those pistons and drop those puppies in here with some new Clevite bearings. So that's up next. Let's get to it, and yeah, let's get to it. All right, so what you have here is our Hastings piston rings. Now you want to make sure that if you've never done this before, or even your different brands, make sure that you understand what parts you have and what goes where, because we have 4 different bags here. It's a 6-cylinder, but these are the different components of the rings that fit each piston. So make sure that you get the right parts in the right place, and they're also in the right orientation, because it's really critical that these things go together in their proper order as well as their proper place in the piston. So there they are. We've got the oil rings, it's 3 pieces, and then we've got 2 compression rings, a top ring and a second ring. So I'm going to go and peel these out, put them in the block. We'll get out the feeler gauge, which I have laying around here somewhere, and I'll look up the spec. We'll get a measurement on what it should be, and I'll show you that next. All right, so we see here that the 6-cylinder we're working on is 10 to 20 thou for both the compression rings, and 10 to 25 for the oil. And it also, later on in the book there, good old-fashioned Chilton's, tells us that we should measure the gap 4 inches, well, at the bottom of the ring travel, which is about 4 inches down the bore. So I've got a feeler gauge here, doubled up with a 15 and a 2, gives me 17, which I'm not going to be able to film with it down in there, but basically that's what I've got, 17 thousandths of ring gap. So that's within spec, a little bit tighter, and that'll be good for control. So yeah, we're digging it. That's what our ring gap is, and I'm going to go through and check them all, and then we'll set these rings and get these puppies in. So there you go. So I got all the rings checked in the bore. Looks like we're good on all 6 of them. Number 6 was a little bit looser than the rest, but basically I got 17 thousandths to lay flat. Number 6 was took 18, but otherwise we've got pretty solid gap there, and we're ready to drop these rings into the pistons. Interesting thing, I figured I'd just grab a ratchet and break these loose off of these scat rods. Here it turns out they're on there, like they torqued them down. Anyhow, I've got the vise set up with a couple pieces of leather. While I'm popping all these rings in here, we're also going to break all of those bolts loose so that we can drop this stuff in the engine. All right, let's get to it. I'm not going to go through all of the video on this because with all I have to do, even on slow motion, this is going to take forever to make this video an hour long. You don't really need to see it. I'll capture one of them and then continue on with the rest of them and get ready to drop them. Let's do it. We're all ringed. See there, we'll make sure the gaps are in the right locations whenever we install them in the block. Bearings are all set. So all I'm going to do now is take this microfiber, get a little bit of solvent on there, clean these all up real nice and pretty, and then clean the cylinders in the block, make sure we got no grit and stuff in there. Drop these in, and after we get them in, we'll do a plastic gauge. Make sure we've got the right oil gap in there and that this puppy's going to run right. So let me get things cleaned up here, and then I'll get back on and show you dropping them in. All right, so here we are with our stroker build. We got through 1, 2, number 3 cylinder. You see this boss right here. Try and get this light in here so you can see. But we've got some conflict there. So gonna have to get out some power tools and fix that up before we go on, because I can't turn the crank to get all the rest of these dialed in. So all right, break out some tools. All right, I'm just gonna put burr bit in my small drill at that, because I don't want this crap all over the place. I've already got pistons in and everything like that. I want it to be easy to vacuum out. So I'm just going to burr it off until we clear. That's all it took. I'm going to vacuum that out and get back to getting these pistons and the block, all the caps on, so we could do some plastic gauge. And as soon as I get all that done, then I'll come back and play with this, see what the clearance is, and make sure, you know, that we're clear. We get any uh, motion in our caps, you know, because this engine doesn't have the girdle. I'd thought about maybe making a girdle, but I'd have to get the uh, other bolts for it. We're finding another engine with the girdle already in it, but then I thought, well, you know, this isn't something I'm going to wring out at, you know, trying to reach $6,000 out of it. So, you know, this is just a mass improvement over what's in the truck already. So, yeah. So anyhow, it's probably not going to be any big deal, but I'll get back to this and revisit it later. So let's get on with putting the bearings in there and vacuuming this crap out of there. So. All right, so I got all the pistons in, all the caps on, the plastic gauge, they all checked out. I had, yeah, just around 2 for all of them. Some of them are a little bit fatter, which means they're a little bit tighter. So we're good to 1,000 oil gap, so, or oil clearance, excuse me. So we're all good there on all 6 of them. These rings, boy, they're nice and tight. You see me cranking down on that stub nut or bolt, and yeah, had to bury that thing all the way down the bottom before I got enough uh, torque to crank this thing over. So we'll have to break it in nicely. But anyhow, show you the clearance that we got on that boss on that block where we had the conflict earlier. Ran it around a couple times. That's the only conflict we have. So uh, looking good. Yeah, let me show you that and then we'll move on. So right there, that's the only place we had a conflict. And now that shoulder on there is the closest point to the block. So I think that's plenty of clearance. You know, that's probably 16th, maybe a little bit more than that. So that's a lot of good space. So I think we won't have any problems with that for the, even without the girdle. I don't think we get that much activity out of it. So anyhow, there's our bottom end all put together and looking pretty. So we'll flip this puppy over. I think next thing we're going to do is lifters. All right, let me show you the pistons there. That's what they look like from above. Nice and pretty. Oh, did you see what I saw there? Yeah, man. Boy, did I really mess that up. Yeah, it's a good thing I'm filming this, huh? Get all distracted by all kinds of shit. But yeah, look at that mistake there. At number 6, that's the one that O'Reilly spring compressor was giving me grief, and I took it in and out 3 or 4 times, and man, just didn't catch out when I was dropping that back. So yep, gonna have to roll that around and fix that up right. All right, so I got it this far. We've got crank, pistons, cam, lifters in, timing set on. And next I'm going to drop the head on here, drop some push rods in there, check the lash on the valves, and yeah, moving on. So we're getting there. Got some ARP assembly lube we're going to use on the fasteners. These are stock fasteners. Didn't really see the need to go whole hog. So yeah, stock setup. We're going to lube them up. We're going to torque them down. And we're going to set this head. We got same Velcro set again. This is a traditional head gasket. So yeah, a little bit thicker, but it's going to work out. So let me grab this head, pop it up on here, and get her fastened down. This is going to conclude this segment of this video. I ran out of space on the SD card again, and camera cut off in the middle of getting those head bolts done. But anyhow, I think you know how to put bolts on. They're in there and tight and ready for our rocker arms. Now, I realized that I didn't save the original rocker arms from the previous build, so got to decide if I want to get some more of those or recycle the ones I already have on the in the truck right now. But anyhow, this is going to conclude today's video. Just a reminder, want to tell you all that, again, think about your friends. You know, if you're depressed or you're just having a rough time in life, it could be the people you're hanging out with. Like my buddy Dave I was telling you about in the beginning of the video. Haven't seen him in 30 years, and he's done just a great job with his family and his children and his grandchildren, and he continues to keep work and be a part of a community. And he's a good guy to know. You know, I got that space between me and him, and it was good to connect and remember what that kind of friendship was. But you know, we both had this guy in our life that we were hanging out with at the time, and he was toxic for both of us. And we talked about that we both got away from that guy, got away from the, you know, his foul, negative, backstabbing type of stuff, and we got some new friends, and we kept moving on. And here it is, we come back together, and we've got 30 years of space between us, but basically we have the same story, and that is if your friends aren't good friends, get new friends. With that, we'll see you next time, and have a great day. Go out and be great.